One of the most informed players in the Premier League, Antoine Semenyo's release clause, according to David Ornstein, is £65 million. And David Ornstein tweeted yesterday that Bournemouth could be powerless. There are 5-6 Premier League clubs from all of the big six clubs, the Man United, Cities, Chelsea's, Liverpool's, Spurs, and Arsenal are all heavily linked. We're going to look at Semenyo's wages. We're going to look at his stats this season and actually talk about who will he be joining if he is to go in January for 65 million. According to other sources, the release clause will actually drop down to 50 million pounds in the summer. One of my favourite players to watch in the Premier League this season, such a powerful runner, 6 goals and 3 assists in 11 games, a remarkable return, and actually been one of the most exciting wingers to watch this season. Let me know down below, who do you think Antoine Semenyo will be joining? As it stands right now, the favourites to sign him are Liverpool. They look at him as a long-term replacement for Mohamed Salah, but that is more of a summer plan for Liverpool. Richard Hughes was part of the team that helped sign him when he was at Bournemouth. However, I don't necessarily know if Liverpool have the cash to sign him in January. After all, they dropped close to £370 million on Kirkes, Florian Wirtz, Ekitike, and Alexander Isak. It's a very interesting situation. Like I said, let me know down below, which Premier League club do you think Antoine Semenyo will be joining? Make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already. Make sure you also go down and hit that subscribe button. It is huge news. I can't bring up David Ornstein's tweet because at the time of recording this, Twitter is currently down. So I'm going to bring up the news coming out from Sky Sports' news website. And this is what they have to say. Transfer news, here we go. Antoine Semenyo's Bournemouth forward £65 million release clause becomes active in January. Bournemouth, Antoine Semenyo has a £65 million release clause that becomes active. Man City, Liverpool, and Spurs are heavily interested in the 25-year-old. His release clause is only active to a certain date in the January transfer window. Release clause drops in the summer of 2026. It then goes on to say, Bournemouth forward Antoine Semenyo has a 60 million release clause and 5 million add-ons, but is only active to a certain date in January. Now, Bristol City, who sold Semenyo to the Cherries for around 10 million, would get a 20% profit sell-on clause. Man City, Liverpool, and Spurs were watching Semenyo as he looks to add pace and power and goal-scoring ability to the squad. Semenyo signed a 5-year deal, and this was interesting. Tottenham put an offer on the table for him, but he ended up signing a new contract. Now, if you look across all of the top 6 clubs, everyone from Arsenal at the top down to where Man United and Spurs are right now, every single Premier League club this season could do with Antoine Semenyo. He is one of the most exciting players to watch in the Premier League. He's got pace and power better than pretty much 99% of the wingers in the league. He's only 25 years of age. He's about to be 26 in January coming up. He's got 11 appearances this season with 6 goals and 3 assists. That is a very good return for a player playing at Bournemouth. It's a good return for anyone, but he doesn't play with world-class talent, so it's even more impressive. 1 appearance in the League Cup. As you can see on the left-hand side right now, his contract expires June 2030. He can play on the left, he can play on the right. He's paid up front this season. 55 million euro valuation according to Transfer Market. Of course, does represent Ghana. He will not be playing in the African Cup of Nations this winter coming up because Ghana did not qualify. But who should he join? Now, according to Indy, I can't bring up the tweet. As I said, Twitter is down. Liverpool are favourites, and he believes that Liverpool are in the driving seat. Indy has said multiple times that he personally believes Liverpool will be the most likely club, according to his tweets, to go and sign Semenyo. Now, Chelsea, we'll start with them. They could do with a player like this. They don't really have anyone in their ranks from Garnacho to Gittins to Estavo. He's probably the closest right now as well as Pedro Neto that have shown this amount of consistency so far this season. Neto, I think, is, in terms of Neto's numbers, I think Neto only has, is it 3 Premier League goals? 3 Premier League goals and 2 assists in 11 games. Last season, only got 4 Premier League goals. The season before that, only got 2 Premier League goals with Wolves. His highest goal scoring season has been 4 goals. So to this actual date right now, Neto has never scored more goals than Semenyo. And what's really interesting about that is when you look at the way Chelsea play, in terms of their left wingers and right wingers, if you look at the last game they played in the Premier League, which was a 3-0 win over Wolves, they played Garnacho on the left and they played Neto on the right. Now, I do believe personally that Semenyo is a better option than both of those wingers. If you played Estavo out on the left, João Pedro up front, and then you played Palmer in the 10 with Semenyo on the right, I think that is a very, very good front line. Now, he has been heavily linked to Liverpool, and they are looking at him for more a long-term replacement for Mohamed Salah. Now, Mohamed Salah is 33, 34 years of age now. They haven't had the best of seasons, and in terms of his overall output, Salah hasn't had the best this season. I think he as well has got 4 Premier League goals this season, and I think he's got a couple in the Champions League. He's got 1 in the Champions League and 4 in the league. So still hasn't scored more than Semenyo. And Salah is 33, soon to be 34 next summer. I think he would be a fantastic long-term replacement for Mohamed Salah. You could play Gakpo on the left, Semenyo on the right, Wirtz in the 10 or Szoboszlai in the 10, and Alexander Isak or Ekitike up front. He does give a completely different dimension to the way they attack because he is very, very powerful on the ball. Can go on the outside, can go on the inside. Does have a really, really good finish on him as well. Now, the one that I find extremely interesting is the Arsenal situation because Arsenal predominantly want a left winger. Now, he can play out on the left, but predominantly he plays out on the right. So could he potentially slot in on the left-hand side for Arsenal? I think he's more than capable. But looking at their situation, the fact that they've been heavily linked to left wingers for the last few years, looking at the Nico Williams transfer, Kvaratskhelia has been linked recently, Rafa Leao, Anthony Gordon. I don't necessarily think at this moment in time that Semenyo will be joining Arsenal. That could all change. We know how much Mikel Arteta loves versatility. Eze's played out on the left. Saka can always play out on that right, but everyone else rotates a little bit. You've seen Calafiori, playing at left back, but he inverts into the middle. Marino's a central midfielder, but plays up front. Mikel Arteta sees the game slightly different to other managers. And when you look at the actual out-and-out left wingers they've only got Martinelli, who is currently injured, and Leandro Trossard. And Leandro Trossard is about to be 31 now. So I do think Semenyo longer term, obviously, is going to be a much better option. Now, Man United have also been heavily linked, but they don't really play a system that would suit Semenyo because he heavily relies on width. And Man United's front line is quite narrow. Plus, they've got Ahmad that can play there. They've got Bruno that can play there. They've got Waymo that can play there. And they have got Cunha. Now, Man United are not afraid to spend money. They've gone out to some of the lower-end Premier League clubs before and paid top money for Waymo, for Cunha. So they aren't afraid to do that. They've given Leicester 80 million for Harry Maguire. However, I don't necessarily think at this moment in time he joins Manchester United. I think it's probably going to be Liverpool, maybe Arsenal. There has been some reports out there that Miles Lewis-Skelly, now, whether this is just a play because of he hasn't been linked with a huge time in the World Cup right now. He hasn't really been linked heavily away from Arsenal. But all of a sudden, Thomas Tuchel kind of put the cat amongst the pigeons and basically said that you will need more game time. Could he be used as someone who they potentially could sell in order to bring in Semenyo? Now, I don't necessarily think that situation right now is realistic. I do think, as it stands, he probably will be staying at Arsenal. Now, we've also been linked, and now we are crying out for a player that can play either side, because the only real winger we have is, of course, Kudus. Richarlison's a striker playing out wide. Tell's a striker who's played out wide. Kolo Muani now has a broken jaw. And Brennan Johnson and Kudus are the only real out-and-out wingers we've got really in our squad, because look at that bench. We've got Odebear as well, but we know how much better Semenyo is to Odebear. Then you look at the bench. We don't really have anyone, and we've got a huge amount of injuries. Do Tottenham finally, for once in their life, want to show the ambition to go out there, drop £65 million? We've done it before on Kudus and on Xavi Simons, Solanke too. Well, if we go out there and bring in Semenyo, that is the sort of signing that gets us in and around a European place this season. And the last club to be heavily linked has been Manchester City. Now, Man City are in really, really good form right now. Jeremy Doku plays out on the left. Cherki's played out on the right. They've also got Omar Mamouche that can play there. They've also got Semenyo that can play there. I think as it stands right now, I would start Semenyo over all four of those wingers. I know Jeremy Doku is in really, really good form last 2 or 3 games, and he really turned it on against Liverpool. But I just feel the strengths that he has, I think he's a better goal scorer than Doku, than Semenyo. Marmouche, it's unfair to say, because as it stands right now, he's just come back from injury, and he did have a really, really good start to the end, to his life coming up to the end of the January transfer window last season. But there are a lot of Premier League clubs that are interested in him. His contract does expire June 30th, 2030. Do you think he will be on the move? And if you do think he will be leaving, who do you think it will be? Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you go down and hit that subscribe button. There will be another video dropping later, so make sure you check that out. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. I am out.